Hello, welcome back. Today is Thursday, April the 8th. I know it's been just over a week since I've created a video for you all, and I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I've been kind of struggling with some things, and sometimes it's hard to put one together. I've tried several times now and already have lots of information that I wanted to create a video with. And every time I started, I just kind of found it impossible. I think I was suffering through some disappointment and experience and some sadness. So this one's entitled Waves of Sadness. No further word on Megxit or loss of titles. The full disclaimer for this video is located in the description. These are my opinions, and this video is for entertainment only. Please do your own research. Thank you guys for coming back, and if you're new, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll consider subscribing. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. I'm from the USA, and a lot's been going on. We've been hearing not so much on mainstream media, but about the border crisis that we have coming up through from Mexico and from El Salvador and to Texas in the United States and New Mexico and California. And it's been very difficult. Once the new President Biden was elected into office, he immediately overturned through executive orders all the border orders that had been put in place where we were putting up a wall and people had to come into the USA legally and apply for citizenship. On Biden's first day of office, he overturned all of those things and then made it impossible for one of our groups called ICE to be able to go out and arrest people that had come across and had convictions and to send them back and deport them to their countries. It became like an open borders. So people started just pouring in by the hundreds, thousands, and it just overwhelmed the facilities that were in place and the Border Patrol, and they were no longer able to protect our border and began to have to babysit the people that were coming over. You had coyotes and drug traffickers and people that were coming across the border that were also bringing kids for to be traffickers and to be trafficked themselves. And it's a terrible situation. Children were coming over not even with any members of their family, as young as 1, 2, 3 years of age, older up to teenagers. And it just overwhelmed the process. And so far, President and Vice President have not stepped in to do anything or even visited the borders. Only our Republican representatives went down to the borders to look to see exactly what was going on, and it's not being reported on mainstream media. I'll just talk a little bit about this, but what concerns me the most is not that people come across, but that people are coming across, and many of them have COVID, and many of them are being released because there's no place to hold them. So they're basically taking their information and they've been instructed to try to release them within 4 to 8 hours. Many of them are, again, do not have families. But the main thing that is bothering me is that these convicted, and you can see on the title up there, these type of predators crossing illegally, but bringing small children that are then going to be used and by them for many nefarious reasons. And it's just sad. And they've put many of the young men into a facility, and our Texas governor has been speaking out, and the representatives trying to get videos out to different medias, and again, mainstream won't report on this. And what's happening is there's a San Antonio facility housing migrant children, and yesterday, there's been allegations that the children are being assaulted physically mentally. And during a Wednesday evening press conference, Governor Abbott said that he had received tips that alleged the children at the Freeman Coliseum facility were being physically assaulted and abused and were not getting enough to eat, even though there was enough food provided there. That they're hurt, they're sick, they aren't able to separate the ones that are carrying the virus, and it's just a very sad situation. And right now, the Department of Health and Human Services and the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services Wednesday are alleging 4 different types of abuse on these children, from sexual assault, insufficient number of staffers, children not being able to eat, an inability to separate the ones with the virus that have tested positive, and the most critical complaints to the these are the most critical complaints that the Texas government has received, and our president and vice president have not done anything. They refuse to call this a crisis and refuse to shut this down. It breaks my heart, and it has concerned me so much because I think about these kids, and I don't understand why parents would let their kids cross over a border with people they don't know and hoping that they'll get to a family member or loved one. Many people have died along the way. Many were found floating in the rivers before they made it to the borders. And many had gone days without food and water. And it just breaks my heart of what could be happening to these kids and what they're enduring right now. And I know that the people there are doing everything in Texas to help them, but the government is not doing what they need to do, or the president's office. The other thing that has me filled with anxiety is the HR1 Act, and it's called For the People Act of 2021. But what it intends to do is where our states are individually trying to go back and change the voting laws the way they were prior to the pandemic, so that we don't have more mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, and people can't just submit a vote without having their identity checked. They're trying to make it so, and saying that voters are oppressed, and they're making it so that people will automatically be registered, whether they're citizens or not, and this causes an increase in voter fraud when our individual states are trying to just change the laws back to what they were prior to the pandemic, so that when you go into a voting center, you're asked to show your ID. You have to do it if you get on a plane. You have to do it if you start a job. It's not oppressing anyone, but it's just to show you are the person that you say you are when you're casting that ballot. And now we have all of these large corporations that are coming out, like Delta, Coca-Cola, and many others, that are standing up with the left, the liberals, saying, yes, you can't enforce these laws, or you can't make them show ID. They're insinuating that that different people don't have the ability or the common sense to be able to register, to be able to be a registered voter. And they're siding with what we call the woke people that are trying to make it so that there can be an increase in voter fraud. And I just don't understand it when all they're trying to do is roll the voting rules back to what they were prior to the pandemic. So it says an act to expand Americans' access to the ballot box, reduce the influence of big money in politics. These are all lies. Strengthen ethics rules for public servants, and implement other anti-corruption measures for the purpose of fortifying our democracy and for other purposes. Well, this is opposite of what it's doing. If this is passed, then it means that there's going to be more voter fraud, and we'll never be able to have another fair election ever. So it's just worrisome. There's just so much going on, and it bothers me because I'm trying to write to our senators. I'm trying to write to the people who can change these laws and be supportive of them and get the word out, because mainstream media is failing us in this regard and is not reporting on these things. The other thing that bothers me is the cancel culture. We've seen what's happened to Piers Morgan, and he's lost his job because he refused to apologize for saying that he didn't believe Meghan Markle with her sit-down interview to tell her truth to Oprah Winfrey. And he said, no, that's my opinion. And he was doing exactly what he should be doing as a journalist, and not just accepting what someone says, but saying, I choose not to believe them because it makes no sense to me and there's no facts. So then I'm sure you've heard about Sharon Osbourne being let go from her job, and she was told to apologize, and she did, and she was let go anyway for something that makes no sense. She was simply stating that that Piers was not someone that had problems with people of different colors, that he treated everyone with respect, and asked one of her co-hosts, Cheryl Underwood, if she could give her an example of a time that Piers had done this, and she couldn't. But yet we see the cancel culture where Piers is let go, Sharon apologizes and is also let go. They'll be fine, but we don't have people that have the courage and have the moral fortitude to stand up and speak out the truth, to do their jobs like a journalist should, to investigate, to learn what the truth is, and not just accept someone's so-called truth. That isn't journalism, and it seems like that we're all leading with that, and that all of big media, mainstream media, is wanting to promote what they think is politically correct. But these people have not done nothing wrong, but yet they have lost their jobs for speaking up for freedom of speech. And if we don't all speak up and do something to bring about a change, it's going to continue to happen until none of us has freedom of speech. And we all have to do our part, whether it's write a letter, whether it's speak out on social media, whether it's make comments on social media. But we can't be complicit. We have to speak out and do our part. I hope you'll watch the Tucker Carlson interview with Piers Morgan. It's about an hour and 17 minutes long. When it aired, it was only like the first 20 minutes. Hopefully in a couple of days, the entire thing will be on YouTube. Some people have recorded it and put it out there now. But I think it's important to see what he has to say because, again, it's not just what happened to him or who he was speaking out about. It's more about free speech. And then we get to Meghan and Harry. A couple of days before the 31st, before the Megxit, I'd created a video and I just talked to you guys and told you what I felt, and that I felt like nothing was going to be done and no titles were going to be removed, that the Queen would protect her family. And as it turned out, even though I waited all day for the 31st and even April 1st, I waited for something to come out in the news to say what the Queen's decisions were. And I think we were all hugely disappointed to find out that she didn't do it. I believe when Harry and Meghan talked to them just prior to the sit-down to record the Oprah interview, that's when they told the Queen that they weren't returning. And they went ahead and said, okay, this is the end of our agreement. You guys aren't going to get paid. You guys have chosen not to be working members of the royal family. Good luck. Do your thing. And then that terrible sit down where Meghan told all of these untruths. And as Piers stated, that there were 17 that he could prove that were misinformation and untruths, and what she did to the family, knowing that they weren't able to speak out. It's bothered me so much, and I've watched that interview and watched it and just thought about that along with everything else that's going on, and it's just been very upsetting. It bothers me. I feel like that there's more that I've got to figure out more of what I can do, that I've got to speak out while we can. And these things are just disheartening. And it made me, I'll be honest, it gave me the blues. I was just disappointed. I felt let down. I felt there's an injustice here with all of these things. And just very disappointed that I didn't see more people come out and speak up and stand up on the side of truth and what was right, but instead, out of fear, choosing to believe things that were not true, and just because someone said them didn't make them true, but maybe feared losing their own jobs or whatever the case. But it's a sad time that we live in. It really is a sad time. And I pray that things get better. I pray that they'll change and that for the better, and that we have democracy. I don't want to turn into a country where it's a dictatorship and where we lose our individual rights that our forefathers and our ancestors fought and gave their lives for our freedoms and our Constitution. It's just heartbreaking, but that's why I haven't been on for a few days. I didn't know what to come on and say, and I was just really feeling kind of sad. So I'm sorry. It's okay, and I know it's all right to feel that way, but again, I apologize for not making something sooner. And when you stay away a few days and you kind of just need that time to yourself and to do other things and to clear your head, then when you sit down to make one, it's a little bit hard. But I thank you for watching. Thank you for understanding and for your support. I appreciate all of the viewers, and thank you for your comments. They really help, and I enjoy knowing what you guys think about things and how you're feeling. So I'll just leave you with this. So I'm trying to let go of things that can't change and focus on the things that we can. Clear my head of this and not be bogged down with all of the disappointments, and just try to go forward and every day try to make a difference in the things that I can change and not focus on the things that I can't, because all that does is cause worry and anxiety. I pray for each of you and for our lives to all improve, and for us to come out of the sad times that we're living in, and hopefully in a few months we'll be able to begin to live life normally again. There's so many people that are struggling out there, and I think about that often, but we don't hear their stories, we don't hear their voices, and I just feel like that they're silently struggling, but just know that there's always people that you can talk to. And while we may get the blues sometimes, all of us, that it's going to be okay. Sometimes we need a few days just to clear out the cobwebs. But thank you for listening. I appreciate it, and I'll see you very soon. I'll try to get another video out in the next day or so. Much love to you all.